Just try to
Three.
talk as loud as you can.
We're live.
Okay.
All right, what's up?
All
This is
right.
Flex Wheel with another episode of Flex for Life with my co-host Greg, and we have a very special guest, somebody that's influenced me throughout my years. Actually, the reason why I took bodybuilding seriously. Without further ado, how you want me to introduce you, man? Soki, how you want me to do this?
You, Ty McGuire, it doesn't matter.
Ty McGuire, Rubber Band Man. Ty, let's
Mm-hmm.
for our audience, let's just get into where you from, how you grow up, what sports you played.
Okay. What sports? Well, I grew up in Akron, Ohio.
The Wild
Sports?
Wild West.
Yeah, it really is now. Yeah, I grew up in Akron, Ohio, where LeBron James is from, right? So, got into karate, wrestling back in the fourth grade. Pretty good at all. Pretty good at most sports. I wouldn't say all of them, but except for baseball, everything else I was pretty good at. But after the sixth grade, I pretty much put everything towards wrestling and karate. Seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, I made the United States karate team. My instructor, Tony Clark, and he was the 1976 AAU national champion. Hanshi Anderson, George Anderson, he's in the Black Belt Hall of Fame. He was Tony's instructor as well as my instructor. And he's the one that started a lot of the, what would you say, the Olympic sports, Olympic karate, traditional karate. He's the one that was the spearhead behind that big movement. Well known through Japan, well known through the United States, of course. And I started training for the United States karate team in the eighth grade, and Tony Clark said, "Hey, Mr. Anderson, I want to have Ty do the U.S. team trials this year." And I was a green belt. Went about I think I was wrestling like 126.
How old were you?
Huh?
How old were you?
Like 14, 15. 14, 15. About 126 in the eighth grade, we started training for it. And he told Mr. Anderson, he said, "Mr. Anderson, I want to have Ty try out for the United States karate team," which is all black belts, right?
Right.
Not green belts. We're not fighting kids.
Right.
So it's all black belts. So he said, no, they're going to try to kill him. He said, they're going to try to kill him. And he put me in the tournament. It was in Cleveland, Ohio. Green belt. He didn't change my belt. So I'm fighting black belts, United States team trials.
With a green belt on.
Green belt on. In the eighth grade, about 15 years old. And they was trying to kill me. They really were. They was really trying to hurt me, really trying to kill me. But I was too fast for them. Kicks was too fast. And they couldn't do anything with it. So I ended up, I think it was, let me see, the U.S. team trials is right here. That was fought a guy named Stevenson or something. Big dude, real big guy. I would say back then he probably was about 220, 230. And he was too slow, right? But he was trying to hurt me. And I ended up taking first or second in the team trials that year to make the United States karate team. I was number one in the state in my senior year, and I was always the top 3 or 4 in the state of Ohio, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade year. My 12th grade year, I was number one. Me and the dude that won the state championship, I ended up beating him, but I blew my knee out right before the state championships. But I still had offers from all of the colleges in Ohio. Ohio State, I could have went to Ohio State with a full ride, but I wanted to come to California. So I came out to California.
Why?
to meet Flex Wheeler, of course. That's why I came to California. Right. That's why I came. But no, California, the beach, everybody likes it. Ended up coming out to what's called California College of Sequoias, junior college,
Mm,
30, 40 minutes out of Fresno.
mm,
So I ended up going there, made All American Wrestling back in 80, 81, 82. I stayed there until 82. And then I went and got a full ride to Fresno State. So, and that's pretty much my wrestling career. Wrestled some national champions. Russell Reyes out of Bakersfield, beat him 4-3. Sorry about that. He's out of Bakersfield, California, and he's considered, he was a national champion. I ended up beating him. Another tough customer I ended up wrestling, everybody knows him, is Kenny Monday. And he was the first Black world champion. He's an Olympic champion, national champion, all that. So anyway, with me and his match, we wrestled up in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, where you at? Actually, at the university. And we in the sauna, losing weight. About 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Me and my partner out of Ohio, Gene Allison, and he said, "Oh, you got Kenny Monday in the morning. You got Kenny Monday." I said, "Okay." And I'm running. We're in the sauna. I got on coats, plastics, everything, trying to lose weight to get down to 147s. He said, "Aren't you scared? Are you scared?" I said, "Scared? Scared of who?" And he said, "Man, I'd be scared if I had to wrestle Kenny Monday. I'd be scared." I said, "No, man, I'm not hardly scared. We're trying to lose this weight so we can wrestle in the morning." So anyway, me and Kenny, we end up wrestling and we locked up, right? I know who he was. He didn't know who I was, right? So, but I wouldn't say my specialty, but a lot of my techniques were a lot of throws. So I can throw pretty much anybody. So I sucked him in with a underhook, overhook, and he started screaming. He started making him. He was trying to get out because he knew he was in trouble, right? He knew he was in trouble because he didn't know me. But when I locked in and I sucked him in, he couldn't get out, right? He couldn't. So he's trying to get off the mat, trying to squeeze out of there, and he's screaming, not loud, but he's doing stuff like that, right? So I ended up tossing him. Boom, hit him with a hip throw, right? He on his back. And he started screaming some more. He's trying to get out of there. He's a tough guy. He's trying to get out of there. Anyway, he ended up getting up. We ended up locking up again. He ended up winning the match, right? But from that story, and like I told Gene, the guy from Ohio that wrestled with me in high school and came out here with me in college, I had somebody to tell me, this is what I need to do. This is how close you are. The guy's a world champion. He's an Olympic champion. He's the first Black to be a world champion or Olympic champion, whatever it was. And you're this close from him. You almost pinned him. You almost beat him. And that's why I try to push a lot of my students and send the students on the right path and see what you're capable of doing and how I can help you get there. Because I didn't have nobody help me. Right.
right,
I'm doing
right.
all that stuff on my own. So had I said, if it would have been me, I'd have said, "Hey, Ty, you in college. You got 2 more years left. We can redshirt 1 year. We can run it 2 years. But do you want to be a world champion? You want to be an Olympic champion? What you want to be? Because we can start it right now and we can make it happen. But you're real close. Because this dude, I could have beat him, bro.
Look, okay, so you went to Fresno State and
right.
you end up meeting your business partner, Oak. How did that happen, and how did you guys formulate the style of Kim Kondo?
Okay, Anton, I'm not sure how we met. I am not sure. I couldn't tell you how we met.
Okay.
But we ended up meeting and training together. We ended up training. He had a house, and we training in his living room or whatever, and working out. And his system was Kempo, Okinawan Kempo. My system was Taekwondo, I studied Haizinai Kung Fu, of course. I studied Goju Ryu, of course, and kickboxing and boxing, along with wrestling. So that was my forte. His was basically Kempo. So we decided to put the art together, and which was formed as Kemp Kwan Do. Hands and feet, hands and feet.
Right.
Deadlift.
So let's skip forward a little bit. Obviously, I mean, I met Anton when I was going to police academy in Fresno.
Okay.
I was doing a day class, and he was doing a night class, and we ended up meeting. And he
Yeah.
was telling me about his school. I should come down. I'm like, yeah, 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 good. You know, I will. I was training at Sensei Halliburton School,
Right. Where's Japan?
um, where Japan,
Hmm.
and he was telling me about this cat who can kick, like crazy. And I'm like, nah, he can't kick better than me, dog. And he was like, no, he can kick. I'm like, nah, man, can't nobody kick better than me. So I remember, and I'll tell the story because it has a lot of meaning to it. I came to your school, and
Hmm.
back then, what you do to find out a person's capabilities, you would have them fight your students. So I'm fighting your students. Oh, I'll let you tell a story. Go ahead. You tell a story from there.
Okay, you came in. Um, fighting one of our. He was a good little student, good fighter. And Tony was I think with green belt, I believe.
He is a green belt, yeah.
And they fighting. Kenny sweeping him all over the place, sweeping him off the ground. Well, Flex sweeping him off the ground. You guys might not know Kenny, but
Yeah, I
Flex,
was skinny back then. Right, right.
right. Tossing him, throwing him, hitting him, kicking him, doing all kind of stuff to him. So for us, it's kind of, and I know Flex probably didn't know it. He was just fighting the guy, right? It's kind of disrespectful to come in there and beat somebody down like that, right? Um, and so I said, okay, well, he's pretty good. Let me move around with him a little bit. Let me see how good he really is, right? So, and we, me and Kenny, I mean Flex, me and Flex moved around a little bit after he beat up one of the green belt student, right? So I said, come on, we move around a little bit, and you,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was embarrassing. I mean,
I wouldn't say that.
kicking me all in the face, kicking me all in I couldn't touch him. I'm like literally just scrubbing my face with his foot back and forth. And
Hmm.
man, I felt on the other end, I felt so disrespected. I got up and ran out to school, and I was like, and I meet Anton, a couple of days later. He's like, hey man, why you didn't come back? I'm like, man, dog, disrespectful, man, doing me like that, and he's like, man, y'all should really talk. I'm like, I ain't got nothing to say to boy, he disrespected me, just gonna touch me up like that. And the thing about it is, I mean, back then, you understood if a person could touch you with the ability of not hitting you hard, that's a knockout. All those are just knockouts. He's just pulling
Right.
back on that. But I go back and to
Anton.
I talked to you, and you explained to me how you felt it was disrespectful, and you had made me an offer. It's like, man, come over to our school. I'll have you number one in the state. I think you said in like a half a year or something like that. And we started getting down, man, and it was amazing. You really inspired me, man. I mean, to this day, I mean, you'd call me, wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, man, let's go train. And
Hmm.
I'd be like, I learned that if I said no, I was going to get a beating the next day at school. I mean, because I was
Hmm.
a top student. So every time he demonstrated, it was on me, and after a while, we got so close. We traveling all over California fighting. And I'm like,
Hmm.
man, why you always disrespecting me in front of class? You always hitting me hard, bidding me over and stuff. And you're like, you should know. You always been so philosophical. You would never give me a straight answer. And I'm like, really upset. I'm emotional. Like, come on, man. I'm like, we supposed to be boys. And he's like, you don't understand? And I was like, no, I don't understand. He goes, you should understand. I'm like, come on, dog, just tell me, stop that, And
Mm-hmm.
what you told me broke me down, brother. You're like, I want to put you under so much pressure that if you ever had to get down on the street for real, you'd be like, I've been here before. I'm comfortable with that. And I was like, you could have just told me that, dog, but it was amazing. And I'll finish with this and we can move forward. I was winning all over the place.
Right.
Sometimes not even being scored on, just winning all over California. I end up beating everybody that beat me. And it was Ty that was helping me when I came back after police academy and got into bodybuilding. So I would train with weights, and then I'd go over and I would train with them in martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
I was really struggling financially. Ty would go and buy my week for a whole, my food for a whole week. He'd just take me to the store. What do you need? And we'd fill up on tuna and sourdough French bread and Gatorades was my diet.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up coming down to the California Championship, MPC. I ended up winning, and it was crazy because I didn't know what to do to warm up. So Ty got me over on the side of the ring, like stretching me out, pushing my foot back to the wall and all
Mm-hmm.
this. I didn't even know how to warm up for the show. I ended up winning, and then the following week I fought in the California State Championship and
Right.
fighting, and I won. And I was like, it got to a point where I had to make a decision, and I was like, man, which one do I do? And again, Ty, he gonna be all philosophical. You do the one that chose you. I'm like, which one chose me? I don't know. And he goes, you do the one that chose you. And I'm like, man, just tell me which one chose you. He's like, bodybuilder. I'm like, how could you say that, bro? I'm like, look how good of a fighter I am. He goes, you are, but there's no money to be made in martial arts. I think you can go farther, with this bodybuilding thing. And back then, if you were a star in a movie, you did a bunch of flamboyant kicks and the star would knock you out with a haymaker. And it was very disrespectful back in those days. So got into bodybuilding and history was made after that. But after that, Ty, you end up moving to LA, and what did you end up start doing?
I'm with LA.
Yeah,
What you mean? What I started doing? Like,
yeah. As far as your bodyguard work.
oh, okay, okay. Let me talk about the late night calls real quick. Late night calls. I'm at the dojo working out. Right? It's about 1, 2 o'clock a.m. I get a call from Flex. Flex called me. Hey, what you doing? What you doing? I said, I'm working out. I said, I'm working out. And, I'm working out at 1, 2 o'clock a.m. I'm working out. I say, what are you doing? He got all quiet. I said, what are you? Real quiet. Didn't say nothing. And he finally said, oh, I'm at the club with my boys. We can go over here and go to some other houses and meet some females and do this and do that. I said, well, you want to come work out? Got quiet again. Come work out? And then he finally, yeah, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. So he hung up and got out, left his boys and came over to the dojo. And we worked out until the sun come up, right? 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and we still working out. So, and I tell everybody that's a choice that he made, and he understood the question, just like you say, when I ask you things, you know the answer to it. And just like I asked you that, you was going to give me an answer sooner or later. And by you giving me that answer, that lets me know what path you really want to go down.
Mm.
You could, oh man, I'm gonna go hang out with my boys and kick it and go with some girls and hang out and do breakfast. Easy. That's the easy way out. But you chose to come and work out until the sun come up. So therefore, if you can do that, then you can do weights all day and all night. That's not a problem. It won't be a problem for you. You can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go hit weights. Go to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, because you've done it before. Everything else is going to be easy for you, mentally and physically, right?
Yeah.
So, and that happened. I think it was a Friday night, Saturday morning.
Now you do know is a couple of times you called me and you said you want to go train, and we end up meeting at the football field, kicking up and down the football field.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, sometimes it was you by yourself. Sometimes it was what Tony Brewer did it a couple times. So you guys, but it works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
So you moved to LA,
Right.
and I'm training at Go's Gym, and I see you and I'm like, wait a minute, what? And you hitting the heavy bag, and like everybody's staring at you because like,
Okay.
dude, you're killing the heavy bag. I'm like, man, what are you doing down here? And I forgot what you said, but then we end up seeing each other on a freeway,
Hmm.
and we pulled over on the freeway and we're talking, and you dressing different, you know, you all blued out. And I'm like, wait a minute, I understand these colors. Well, what are you doing? He's like, well, this is who I'm working with. So go for there.
Hmm. You say what now?
Go from there.
Who I was working with?
Yeah.
Um, when I was doing the bodyguard work.
Yeah.
Bodyguard work. I want to say in LA started out with, who was it? Exhibit. I think it was started out with this Exhibit. It was my first one, I believe. Yes, it was Exhibit, and then I ended up going to Nate Dogg. Ended up going to Nate Dogg, and both of us had a good relationship. Nate Dogg, I was with Nate Dogg by myself, solo, and Nate Dogg, we was going everywhere in a limo. He didn't drive cars, so we were everywhere in a limo. And he started bragging to Snoop. He started bragging to Snoop Dogg. He said, "Hey Snoop, you got all these. You got 12 of these cats. I only got one. This is the only one I need." And he said, my guy is woo woo woo, and start reading him off my resume, right? I gave everybody a resume when I was starting out back there, and he was like, because Snoop thought I was the same age as him, not knowing that I'm a little older than him, right? He thought I was the same age as him. He said, "No, f that, f that." He started cussing. F that. I know that dude. I've seen that dude before. He ain't did all that. He ain't did this. He ain't did that. So he ended up calling a guy out of L.A., a real street cat, a real street cat that you make a call and he's a
Yeah.
cat and he's in the martial arts. So Snoop calls him and he said, "Hey, I know you into that martial arts stuff. I know you in that karate stuff. Um, you know this guy? They call him Tyberry. You know him?" He said, "Oh, I know him. I know him very well." He said, "Oh, you know him?" He said, "Yeah." Well, he's supposed to be SWAT. He's supposed to be a sniper. He's supposed to be a shooter, do all this and do the martial arts. And yeah, he does. He said, "Oh, he does?" That's what Snoop said. "He does?" He said, "Yeah, he taught me a lot of stuff." He said, "Oh, really? Okay, thank you." Hung up with the dude, called Nate. "Hey, Nate, I need him." That was in the story. So I left Nate and went over to Dog. So I ended up staying with Dog the rest of the rapper, I would call it the rap scene before I went to Raven Simone. So I was with Nate, Dog, and we went everywhere from there. What you got any questions about that one? Or
Yeah. Just like you start dressing different, homie. I mean,
I don't remember.
yeah, right.
Well,
Okay, so
oh, you
you
talking about? I don't think I was all. You saying I had on blue?
all blue,
Like
all
what?
blue, all blue, huh?
Like what?
Like
Blue?
all blue, huh? That handkerchief pattern shirts, the blue jeans, all blue. And I asked you about it's like, hey, around them, You can't wear no other color but that.
Well,
Oh
you
yeah.
don't want around because if something happens, you can't be wearing red, right? If you're in that environment. So if you are in that environment and something cracks off, you don't want to be in a red shirt, red pants, because everything's happening so quick. And they're not going to be looking at the face. They're just going to see that color.
Mm,
So I may have had a blue shirt on or whatever, but I would never wear all flamed up, all red up, all blued up. But if I wore blue, it was probably because of the environment that we
right.
were in. Because he had friends that wore both colors. He had
Mm,
friends that would wear red. He had friends that wore blue. Um, he was a friendly type of guy, so he tried to be cool with everybody. So, but if I was wearing blue shirt and blue pants, um, maybe it was blue shirt, blue pants. I don't know. Or maybe it was because of our environment that we were in. I'm definitely not going to be wearing because everybody that was on his side was in blue.
right.
So I don't want to be on a movie set and I got on red shirt, red pants, and all these guys come in with red on. If it jumps off and it's hot, it's cracking, they're not looking at who is that him? He with us
Yeah.
or he with them? You know,
Yeah.
he got on red
So
and it cracks. They shooting. They dealing with everybody that's red.
yeah. So I want to start touching on like some martial arts question in today's martial arts, but yeah, really quickly. So you also work with Simone.
Yes, yes. Raven Simone, I work with her right after dog.
Okay. Okay. How
Mhm.
was that
That was cool. Easy, easy, man. Too easy.
compared to
Yes, yes, yes. Because I
right,
mean,
right?
when you working with him, just like when his car got shut up, right? You remember when his car got shut up? I was at home and I was relaxing. That was my day off. I was at the same location where these guys was at when they left Don Juan's spot, and they popped. They shot the cars up, shot everybody's car up, and it's like I said, it was 12 of them, and I was there the day before. That day happened to be my day off, so I'm like um, chilling in the living room watching TV. Pops up, Snoop Dogg's car has just got shot. He got shot up, and they pulling his car into the police department on a tow truck. And I'm like, what? Soon after that, 2 seconds later, Ty, come get me. Come get me right now. And that's Snoop, right? He's like, come get me right now. And I said, okay, all right, where you at, dog? Where you at? And he over at Wilshire Division, LAPD. I said, I'm on my way. It's only like 4 or 5 minutes away. Jump in my Impala, smoke, go over there and pick him up. And he's like, man, did nobody shoot back? Nobody. Not one of them shot back. They lit the cars up. They was good shooters. The ammo, they didn't have no ammo that was piercing through the windshield, or a lot of them wouldn't have made it. Because the guys were good shooters because the bullets were hitting right where their head would have been, right where their head was at, right?
Mm,
Driver's seat, passenger seat. So they was good shooters. Didn't have enough power to go through the windshield. That's the only thing.
right.
That was a mistake. But they lit their cars up, all of them. And that was
Man, that was a crazy
yeah,
life you're living back then. So
yeah.
we got some questions about modern day
Hmm.
variety schools. Um, a lot of videos that goes off. Greg, what do you got?
I just like to hear his personal. I mean, I've been in the business as well. I've owned a couple of MMA academies, but I just
So a little information about Greg, which he's being polite.
Uh-huh.
Greg was kickboxer
Okay.
back in the days. Back when he was kickboxing, he was one of the highest paid kickboxers at that time. So
Okay.
kudos to you, Greg. Yeah, he got a little bit of skills, but he old like me.
That's decades ago. That's back when long time ago. But
many moons ago.
But yeah, many cycles of moons ago. But my daughter is still in the thick of things, though.
Yeah. Wow. Great. Can you pull up a video of your daughter while you ask the question?
We'll pull that up in a little bit.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for that one, but I'm wondering about. I go now that I'm no longer in the business. I'm a little bit more standoffish when it comes to getting people involved in the martial arts, because I'm going back to exclusivity mindset to where only people who are meant to do it should do it. But that's just me being an old cranky guy. I just wonder if, we said we're going to bring up Bruce Lee at one point. I wonder the state of the industry, if movies have done as much bad as they have done good for the state of martial arts in general. Bruce Lee brought a lot of notoriety and visibility to the martial arts. The Shaw brothers did that to a certain extent also for Saturday morning kung fu flicks. And then obviously the Karate Kid did a lot of business for people in the States as well. But I think it also gave a lot of unrealistic expectations of what you would actually gain from joining some school and learning something from a dojo or whatever, to the point where, again, like you said, there's people out there who we talked about earlier, people thought, they could beat up Bruce Lee, or you have these constant social media posts where some random guy is asked, could you beat any UFC roster female, let's say in the 135 bantamweight division, in a fight? And they said they would definitely be able to beat up a girl. I want to get your take on where the state of the industry as it stands now, because there are so many McDojos out there. I think they outnumber Starbucks at this point.
Right. Now, what you want me to refer to?
Just your state of the union as far as the martial art industry. Where do you see the industry in general at right now,
compared to back in our days when I feel, and for example, like you held me back from, a black belt because of my maturity. It wasn't because of my fighting ability or anything like that. It was because maturity based on schools now. If you don't get a black belt or whatever, they'll leave that school and jump to another school. And now that's the business where, there's so many black belts walking around that, I mean, you can go back to like when I was a green belt and Fresno PD would come in and they got all these black belts on, and you turn me loose and I'd run through all of them. And you'd be like, that's why you're not getting your belt yet, because nobody's going to do that to one of my students. So basically like schools now and how they're built versus back in our time.
Back in our time, and it's more to be able to defend yourself, to make you stronger mentally, physically, and spiritually. Today's is more of a business. And it's hard for a lot of us that was training back then and that were taught back then and that went through all the sweat, the blood, the busted knuckles, and all the fights, to go to that business side where you don't really care about the martial arts the product that you're putting out. A lot of them just don't care about it. And they're brought up to not care. They're brought up to make money. And they're brought up to, here, Johnny, here's your belt. Have a nice day. We'll see you next month. Or we'll test again next month. For us that trained back in those days, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to do that.
So it's like more customer retention than anything else.
Yes. And that's what they're doing. They're doing it. And one guy in town, he has 200 students. 200. My orange belt went over there and beat up his black belts and everybody in the school. He was only 10 years old. He wanted to give that guy, my orange belt student, 10-year-old, He wanted to give him a black belt. He said, I can give you a black belt right now. He's an orange belt, good fighter. Not one of my best fighters, but he was a good fighter. But he went over there, and just like Flex used to beat up everybody, he went over there and did the same thing to them. And only at 10 years old. And the guy wanted to give him a black belt. The guy opened his school up. He's a green belt. Got his green belt from some instructor down here in Bakersfield. Opened the school up and opened his business. And he basically is a babysitter. They drop the kids off, leave the kids, they play games, they do puzzles, babysitter. And he gets them belts.
What do you think about now me and Greg had this conversation, and I seen their point, but he was so pissed about it, where you have these gyms where they'll be like doing aerobic kickboxing, touching the pads, women and all this. And I'm like, and Greg's like, none of them could ever defend themselves. And I'm like, but I don't think that's the reason why they're doing it. I think they're just doing it to get in shape. And Greg's like, it's so disrespectful though.
In my defense, first off, I kind of equate this to, I could take you out and teach you how to hit a tennis ball properly, not so you could beat Venus or Serena Williams, but so you do it the right way to the best of your ability. Not go out there and just swing frantically like you can't even do a pickleball. That's what I saw in that situation.
Okay.
But if you're going to do something, you do it to the best of your ability as properly as possible. That's my point.
I would say that works. I would say that what Flex said, the people that's coming there for that aerobics, Taibo type of workout, they're coming there not to necessarily learn how to fight, but they're coming to get in shape, have fun, throw some kicks, and be around some people with some real good energy, positive energy, spiritual energy. And that's why Taibo did so well. I can't speak on the other ones. That's why Taibo did so well. And now if they want to learn how to fight, Billy can fight. Billy can fight.
You fought back with Billy Blanks back in those days.
Yeah. We fought for a couple of national titles. We fought for a couple of in the 9th grade when I was made the U.S. team. He taught me some things when I made the U.S. team. Like I said, I was only a green belt. So he flew up in the air and I'm staring at him. He came down there. It was like he can really fly. He can really fight. So if they're in his class, in his Taibo class, and they say, well, I want to learn how to defend myself, like Greg was saying. A lot of that stuff is not going to work in a real street fight. He knows that. Billy's a tough fighter. So all they got to do is say, hey, Billy, can you show me some techniques that I can do that if somebody was to approach me in a fight? Now he's teaching private lessons now. Now he's teaching that young lady that wants a little bit more than just the conditioning and throwing the hands and throwing the kicks. Now he can teach her how to fight, And
I think the only pushback I would have is I've seen videos of Billy, and I know he legitimately is a fighter, but when he was marketing Taibo specifically in the group fitness classes, he did little excerpts where he said, well, this technique would translate into a self-defense technique on the street, and it is applicable. So I know, I am a sellout as well. I was a fighter at one point, and you saying 200 people at that school, I would put that in my red category, because before COVID, my Flex saw my MMA academy. We had over 500 students paying $200 a month. We were a family academy. I was not a fighter academy though. So it was a different situation. So I've sold out too for the money. I will.
And I think what Billy was doing is he understood the business then.
Yep.
And I think he understood how difficult and how times that change, where cats are not going to go into school to get beat down, get work really hard, and be able to defend themselves. He's seen that at an early point, and I think that's why he kind of developed this soft aerobic fun type of atmosphere, because he's seen that coming and he was ahead of the curve. I mean, I remember everybody was doing Taibo back then.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, a lot of today's people, and if you look at Billy's Instagram now, a lot of today's people don't know the dude was like really, really legit as a
Right.
fighter, you know. But he just understood the business. So I get what you're going with that, Greg.
Oh,
When
no,
he said that, I think he
masterclass
was
in
just being
business.
Yeah.
Masterclass in business.
Yeah.
He had a black belt in business and a black belt in fighting. I will give him that.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't
So
like
Ty,
his movies. We'll say that.
let me ask you about like today's movies.
Huh?
What do you think of today's movies as far as their ability to actually be real martial artists?
Example, like today's movies.
Yeah, like
Movies.
I mean,
Keanu Reeves.
And Americans, what?
yeah, I mean, like, you know, I mean, Greg just said it. I wouldn't have brought that one up, but how
Which one?
Keanu Reeves is like doing these different fight scenes and stuff like that. Do you think that those fight scenes would be actable on the street?
Well, Kiana, I mean, John Wick is so hot. All it from beginning to end is just all shooting and rolling around and biting, punching, and is just action packed. So with all the action going on, you're not really watching his martial arts. You may jump up in the air and a flying triangle or something, or roll around on a guy and break his arm, but then he shoots him like 10 times in the head. Right? So that's what everybody want to see, you know. So his is like just straight up action, gunfighting from beginning to end. And a lot of times it don't really have a plot. It's just shooting, fighting, you know, killing.
Yeah, I will say this. I know personally Keanu Reeves for years trained in grappling.
Okay.
And then also I know that he really went and shot I can't think of the man's name right now. That's horrible. But he went and trained to shoot. And I will say that a lot of his techniques that he was doing were applicable if you were in close range combat, like the rolling this, that, and now putting out and putting some in the head, you know. So a lot of his was believable, unlike you know, I'm gonna go to this because it's like everybody do like a Steven Seagal you know, flick. What is your, I mean, so are you familiar with Steven Seagal?
Only from his movies. Only from his
Right.
movies.
So
He came in when nobody never heard of it.
yeah. So
Go ahead.
yeah, I'm trying to be nice. I'm always the nice one. I'll let Greg go.
What about Steven Seagal being full of bullshit? Maybe another more contemporary guy that is fairly mainstream would be Jason Statham. He does a lot of martial arts style fights.
Mm-hmm. He makes good movies. He started with the what is they called, the Transporter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's almost John Wickish though, like you said though, right?
Yeah.
Something always comes down to a hand weapon.
Right. Yes, it's
I guess
similar to John Wick.
there really hasn't been a martial arts movie in the United States for. I mean, I'm not going to count any of the Karate Kid revamps, or maybe I can't. Maybe the Jaden Smith, Jackie Chan one. It's about 10 years old now, but that was very martial arts based, obviously.
I know my kids. There, a lot of them like the Karate Kid. What is it called?
Oh, Cobra Kai.
They like it. I haven't watched it, so I couldn't elaborate on that. But a lot of the kids watch it, and they talk about it. But
So
I didn't like the story, but the martial arts in it were horrendous.
I think they did a horrible job representing martial arts. I think they
Horrendous.
ruined what martial arts is really about. I think they ruined people's minds on thinking that they could go and train for a couple of months and be able to fight a person and defeat them. But I want to talk about one of the most legendary fight scenes in martial arts history, and that was with Jackie Chan and Benny Arquidez.
Yes.
Benny Arquidez. Did you see that movie?
Yes.
Yeah. Still. So what were your thoughts? Because Jackie Chan trained in a school for an art. He never really fought, but we all know Benny Arquittas. You actually trained at the Jet Center a
Yeah.
few
Right.
times, so you went up there with
Mhm.
him and his buddy Binky and everything. What did you think
Right.
about that fight scene?
Great fight scene. Probably one of the best fight scenes on screen with two great martial artists. Two great martial artists. Like you said, one is a full contact fighter. One is a martial artist. Can't like you say, you never seen him fight anybody, but if he really leaves the comedy stuff alone, he puts on a real good display of martial art.
Yeah, he does.
On a real good display of martial art. Real good kick, real good punches, inside fighting, a lot of different crane strikes and tiger. He does a lot of good stuff when he's not trying to be funny, right? And that's the only thing I say about Jackie. But he is a great martial artist, and he's done a lot of great things for the martial arts, and that probably is the one of the best scenes ever displayed on film. You know,
I think it
Yeah.
was way ahead of its time.
yes,
Way ahead of its time.
it really was. It really was. And a lot of people don't understand what they was really witnessing at that time between those two individuals, those two martial artists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just
They put on a great
you know
show.
what Benny did is, man, he put the art on display. I mean,
Mhm.
he went and fought everybody in their
Yeah.
style, in their country,
Right,
and
right,
wiped them out. I mean, he
right.
just that was my understanding of what martial arts was: full
Yeah.
forward, 100% contact, and you're gonna give this cat the best that you got, even if it hurts him. But that's what we came here for, is out of respect.
Yeah, Benny's a tough fighter. I knew his brother,
Binky.
Ruben. Me and Ruben was close, and then Blinky, of course, Blinky was a tough fighter too. So Blinky was real good. So I was closer with them than I was with Benny. But as time went on, Benny used to come down to the tournaments in Bakersfield. So you'll see us in a lot of pictures and everything together. So, real nice person, real nice guy. And like
Yeah,
you
I
say,
never thought about this bringing up with Flex, but I got to meet
Mhm.
Benny at one of Scott Coker's old Strike Force events when they were still just kickboxing. He was backstage, and I
Okay.
shook his hand, and it was like shaking like Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy Marvel universe. Like his hand was like pure leather
Okay,
from all
okay.
those years of competing and just hitting
Right,
things. It was amazing, and he's not a huge guy.
right.
No,
Exactly. Exactly. And
no.
that's what Ruben, when they used to get into street fights, right? Because they was in Van Nuys and stuff down there. So they get into street fights, right? So what they would do, because they was all bigger than, just like you said, he was small, right?
Mhm.
Benny was small. So what Ruben said, hey, you know what? They get ready to get into a gang fight. Well, not a gang fight, but a street fight. It's a street fight, right? So they all out, they on one side, and the other guys on the other side. He say, well, if y'all can beat him, then we'll fight you. But if you can't beat him, there's no sense of you guys trying to fight us. And you know who they sent up first, the smallest guy, Benny. They say, if you can't beat him, there's no sense of you guys fighting us. He's the beginner. He's the smallest guy. If you can't beat our smallest guy, there's no sense of fighting.
That was a setup.
He went out there first, so they didn't want to fight, and that was always the story. He said that was the
Damn,
first that they send up. So if you can't
that's a
beat him,
setup.
fight us.
That's a
And
hell
that,
of a setup.
huh?
That's a hell of a setup.
Right? I don't know what
Wow,
they would
that's a
did.
hell of a
I don't know
setup.
if they did if they came across somebody that walked through him, but all of them can fight anyway. Blinky can fight, Smiley can fight, Ruben, all of them can fight.
Right.
So, but yeah, that was their setup.
So Ty,
Right.
I want to talk a little bit about your law enforcement work. Greg is married to a Army. How long in Army?
Just 6 years.
6 years in Army. She's been with Santa Clara Sheriff Department for how many years?
24 now.
24. Retired pro bodybuilder, a fitness competitor, and she just made lieutenant of watch commander. So shout out to Chrissy, amazing young lady. But give us a little bit of background on your law enforcement.
Law enforcement? Mine started back in '83. Was going to Fresno State, got my degree in criminology.
Okay.
Was working for a sheriff's department, working on the streets, working in psych wards, the lifers, what is it, B3. It's county jail. That's county jail. Is up on third floor. That's where all the lifers at. And of course, that's where they put me at, because, and when I say lifers, the lifers are coming in from different prisons before their court date in Fresno or on their way to LA or something like that. So they all went to what's called 3B. And that's where all your killers are at and your lifers are at. So that's usually where they put me at. That was where I was at on 3B. And that's where county jail was at. And then from the county, when I left there, I ended up going to state prison, Avenal State Prison, went there, and then transferred down to Delano, which is in Bakersfield, as a counselor, and then promoted to LA as a parole agent. And that's where I ended up retiring at in LA.
And you also work for the CERT team, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. It's a prison SWAT. We trained a lot of military guys. We trained a lot, and that's when they was really getting into the urban warfare back in the 90s with Afghanistan and everything over there. So we trained a lot of guys that was because they had it good across the terrain out in the grass, but to handle urban warfare, a lot of them wasn't up to date. So that's where we came into play because we specialize in room entries, home entries, building entries, slicing. That was our forte. That was our forte. So we taught a lot of military guys. We trained and taught a lot of SWAT guys as well up in the Fresno area, the Dinuba area, the Hanford, Visalia, all that area up there, Central California, basically. So we trained a lot of those guys. Very good experience, very good knowledge. And I got to use a lot of those techniques when I was doing the bodyguard work. It just flat out works. And that's another reason why I was there one day before the shooting by myself. Same guys was there, same gangbangers, whoever they was there. Nothing happened. The next day, 12 of them was there. It went off. They went off. So because of the training that I received there, I got to use a lot of that in my protection work, and it flat out worked. It flat out works. And
so you're a gun enthusiast, right?
Yes, sir, gun enthusiast.
Yeah, you're a gun enthusiast. I just, if you don't mind, I want to touch on the our time shooting, and even more so the incredible arson that you have. You make your own bullets now. You have a lot of long. I'm talking a mile out, range weapons. What got you so deeply into that whole game? Because I think last time I checked, you're about, I don't know, 400,000 or 500,000 deep in the weapons and ammo.
Got a good little collection.
Good little collect. What got you involved in collecting weapons like that?
Oh, actually, when I came back over to Bakersfield, I was already when we was in Fresno, I like guns, but I usually only had my SWAT loadout. I would have a AR-15, a sniper rifle, a shotgun, and maybe 2 pistols. So I pretty much ran that from '88 until I moved back to Bakersfield in 2007. So that was always my loadout wherever I went. Even when that LA bank robbery was going off, that was in my vehicle in LA, right? So that was always my loadout. And I feel with that loadout, then I can handle whatever comes at me, right? And if I was down at that LA robbery, if I'd have got the call, I could have rode over there. That
We're
would have
talking the South Hollywood one, the shootout. We're talking about the South Hollywood shootout one.
yes, sir. The
Oh
bank.
wow, yeah,
That would have been what? Maybe
94.
when I get out the vehicle, grab whichever one I'm gonna grab. All of 10 seconds. It should have been over within 10 seconds. And that's the difference between, and not to disrespect LA PD, because they got gunfighters over there. They really do. They got gunfighters. Those were not gunfighters at that LA bank robberies. So if their gunfighters would have been there, or their SWAT members would have been there, they would have ended the gunfight in 10 seconds. So that's what I'm saying. There's trained and there's untrained. A trained guy, a SWAT guy, a CERT guy is going to end that gunfight in 10 seconds. Okay. Even if he only got that shotgun. You got a shotgun right there. Pop that shotgun out. Throw some slugs in there if you don't already have them. Throw 4 slugs in there and 2 to the head. It's done. 2 to the head. He's done. 10 seconds. But their guys they didn't grab the shotguns. They shooting pistols over the top of the roof of their vehicles, underneath, around the vehicle, whatever the case may be. But none of them chose to grab that shotgun, put 2 slugs in there in that fight. If I'm there,
Part of the problem with LA back then, the 12-ounce slug was against policy at that point, which was part of the problem.
well, what did they have? Double out buck. They need to have something.
No,
Or you can have whatever load they have in there, whatever LAPD said they can have, put it in there. It's better than the 9mm.
Yeah.
It's a 12 gauge. It's a 12 gauge. So what they putting in there? If they're not, I know in Fresno you got slugs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, when I was in police academy, we have the 70, I think 74mm slugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're out there and you can't be running bird shot, you know, right? So you have to have either slugs to go through a barrier, go through that door, or you got to have double out buck. If you want to skip it off the ground and hit 10 guys, it has to work. Yeah, you have to, because you got that. That's your go-to. You ain't got no AR-15. You got a shotgun. So if you got that 12 gauge and you got 10 gangbangers out in front of you, and you put, you know what, I'm gonna throw these buckshots in there, and I'm gonna skip them off the ground and pop them in the face, whatever I'm gonna do to them, right? Because you got 10 of them, you're not gonna be able to get them all with one slug, right?
So we got deep into this. I was curious if we're going to talk about your arsenal and how many saves and how many rounds that you get down with.
Funny man, still funny, huh? He's like,
I guess we did kind of pivot a little bit there, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. So you start collecting when and why?
I've always been a gun enthusiast. I've always liked them. And like I said, I had my SWAT loadout for 1988 until 2007, 2008 when I moved back to Bakersfield. So 20 years. That was it. About 6 guns. That was it.
Compared to how many now?
English. Nothing. Nothing. No, I have a couple. I have quite a few. I'm a gun collector. I'm a gun enthusiast.
You
I
make
like-
your rounds.
Hmm?
You make your own rounds.
Yes, do a lot of reloading. Enjoy it. I enjoy teaching people about firearms. I enjoy going out to the range and like let you shoot some stuff that a lot of people only heard about on TV or seen in magazines. You go out to the range and you got this gun. You're like, oh man, I seen that in a movie. Okay, all right. Can you Can I take a look at it? Let them look at it. Let them hold it. Some guys may let them shoot one round. You know, if they want to shoot more than that, you got to give up $5 or $6, per round. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, it costs. So, but I enjoy that more so than anything, and enjoy talking about. Oh man, you ever heard of this? Oh yeah, I got one of those. You ever heard of this one? Oh yeah, I got one of those. You want to go to the range? You can shoot one of those. You got to bring the ammo though. You know, other than you got free ammo when you went out there.
Oh man, it
He
was
still
yeah.
does.
And you know what's crazy is I said to you later on, once I started like collecting weapons
Mm-hmm.
and buying bullets, and I kind of thought back like, geez, man, I was shooting everything, tons
Right.
of rounds, and now I'm thinking like $4, $5, $5, $6,
Right.
$3. But you and you know, to bring the podcast to a close, I want to talk a little bit about what you bring to the table in your student. Not only do you teach them in martial arts, you teach them in grappling, you teach them in survival, you know, how to be able to go out in the wilderness and make their own water, to be able to survive, you know, shooting, you take them to the shooting range, you know, so it's a well-rounded school that you have.
Right. And and that's what I tell everybody is you can say we're mixed martial arts, MMA, but I would probably never put that up on the window or up on the side because I do believe in a lot of the true martial arts um attributes, the characteristics that martial artist needs and should have. That way, whatever they learn in the school transfers over into life or transfer over into whatever they want to do, their career, their sport, their livelihood. And I think that's very, very important. So we do, like you said, I teach boxing, teach kickboxing. I'm a firm believer. I've been wrestling since fourth grade, so I'm a firm believer in wrestling and grappling and submissions. So uh, karate, taekwondo, goju ryu, the punches, the kempo, so scoop kicks. So a lot of that stuff just builds a good foundation for a great fighter or a great martial artist. And being able to do all the flying kicks like you can fly. You was able to fly and do kicks and flying kicks that they're doing in the movie, you're doing it in a fight, right? So and it wasn't a lot of people that was doing that back then. And it's not a lot of people that was doing it what we was doing. I think we did it in the same day. From the line, you're set up on the line, you bowed in, your guy bowed in, you went to a fighting stance and you took off, but we practiced it. You took off from the line and put the flying sidekick in the guy's face, right? And I did the same thing later in black belt division, but we practiced that.
Yeah.
And there wasn't
We
guy,
called it taken to the air.
nobody was doing it back then, and nobody's doing it right now. They're not taking off
Yeah.
from the line with a flying sidekick. No running. We're not running. We're taking off from the line from the flying sidekick and putting the flying sidekick in his face. In his face.
Yeah.
Choose to
Yeah.
do
Flex, I
it.
got a question for both of you on that one because you brought up, you know, you're a green belt when you tried out for the national team, black belt division. I'm wondering if the industry might be changing a little bit from that ultimate thing. Like, you know, people say you work out, what do you bench? So it's like a litmus test. Now you get in the martial arts, what belt are you? I mean, I could think of a few professional fighters that I've known, or I'll say even Dominic Cruz, who's going to be a UFC Hall of Famer, has a black belt in nothing, but he was a world champion twice, right? And Flex, should I bring up Neely's video?
Yeah, please.
All right. So my daughter had, you know, this is going to be a video snippet from her amateur debut in Muay Thai kickboxing. She has the red shin and foot pads on. She has one belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's green, I believe, because she was still a junior when she stopped doing BJJ. She was under Leandro Vieira, so she's a checkmat girl. But otherwise, there's no, you know, karate. She didn't do any karate, taekwondo, or kung fu or anything else. This is her amateur debut. 2 fights later, she was a national champion.
Okay. And national champion in what?
In Muay Thai rules, TVA.
Okay.
but her boxing skills were really. You can see right there, she smelled blood and she went after her.
Right.
But
The daughter?
you know, if she said
Yeah, that's
so
his
she's
daughter.
an amateur fighter, she's an amateur martial artist, competitive. A lot of people who are lay people who are not in the know would ask her what belt do you have? What do you have, black belt in something? And she doesn't have a black belt in anything. Just like, I mean, Andre Ward, who's going to be a Hall of Fame boxer. There's no belts in boxing, so I don't know if maybe the thought concept of the martial arts in general, which is, you see the martial arts and it includes wrestling, all forms of wrestling. It includes some forms of martial arts that don't have a ranking system,
Right.
if you really look at it that way. So I don't know if maybe the thought process around what is a martial artist is morphing with time, or what are your thoughts on that?
A martial artist is a fighter that's trained in not just hand-to-hand combat, but he's trained in martial warfare. So it's just not a fighter. A martial artist is much more than a fighter. A fighter, and that's why you see the difference in a lot, and no disrespect to a lot of some of the UFC fighters. Some of the UFC fighters go out and they get into trouble because they don't have that discipline, that focus, and that concentration to be and say, you know what, I'm not going to go over here and fight this guy because he wants to fight me. Because I'm a trained fighter. I'm a UFC fighter, and I know I can hurt this guy. So I'm not going to go and fight this guy. But they decide to go and fight the guy, and now they're in prison or in jail.
Right.
You know. So, or just like the one guy over in another country, they just killed him. Shot him quite a few times, and then they end up catching him coming out of either a club or coming out of a gym, and they end up killing the guy. A martial artist, and that's how I teach my kids. A martial artist, you observe. So if you see this guy, you got a problem with this guy, try to avoid the guy. If you know this guy is after you, have a plan of attack. How you gonna deal with this guy? You can't let the guy just come and kill you and take you out. And you can't go outside. Oh, there's two guys out there. Okay, they're standing by my car. I go out there and beat them up. I'm a UFC. I'm an MMA fighter. No, think about that situation. Those two guys out there may be some real good Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys from across the waters. And they're waiting for you to come outside and they're going to tear a hole in you. Right? So look at the picture. That's a martial artist. Martial artist is trained in warfare. Martial law, martial warfare. That's a martial artist. And he has kicks and punches and different combat sports, that's combat disciplines that he's adding into that martial.
Yeah, and that's a difference between a fighter and a martial artist. A fighter can throw hands, he can take punishment, but a martial artist, what did we say? You have a reservoir of techniques that you can throw for various different situations. But I think that's what Greg was getting at. You have a lot of guys, and again, no disrespect for UFC. You have a lot of guys who are great fighters, even though they call it MMA. They're not MMA guys. They're great fighters. Just like back in the days, you have a street fighter and some cat who's a green belt who goes on to fight that street fighter and get ran through because this dude fights for a living, versus you sitting in a tournament throwing punches and scoring and stuff like that. So there's a difference, but I understand what you're saying. A true martial artist, it's mental, it's observing, it's mind over matter, it's avoiding a fight, it's trying not to hurt that person, where a fighter is going to engage and show you what he's got, to embarrass you or to hurt you.
Right. May stump the guy in the head, do a lot of things that he doesn't need to do. Right?
Yeah.
Then he either go to jail or he stumps the guy in the head and the guy gets out the hospital in 3 months and he comes over there and does something to the guy because he's not playing by rules. There's no rules in street fighting.
Yeah.
There's rules in the UFC. You can't kick to the groin. You kick them to the groin, they fall out. You strike them to the eye, they fall out. Strike them to the throat, oh, they fall out. So there are rules, even though it is one of the closest things that you're going to get to a real street fight against a highly trained martial artist, right? Those dudes will walk through a regular street guy. They walk through a regular street guy because that's what they do, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Greg, you got any more?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah,
So
tell your daughter
listen,
to keep working.
Ty, huh?
I said, tell his daughter to keep working.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, man, she's amazing. I mean, how old
Mhm.
was she? She couldn't even get adults to fight her. They
She was
were avoiding her.
18. That was 2 weeks after high school graduation, that fight.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And she couldn't even get like grown women to fight her. Yeah, she was something else.
Sorry?
How long ago was that fight?
Oh, she's 22 now, so that was 4 years ago. That fight was 4 years ago.
Okay. She still fighting?
She's thinking about switching specifically over to boxing only because there's more opportunities to get fights. But she's had more people pull out of fights last minute than she's had fights.
They find out who she is, huh?
They get tape or whatever, yeah. And then she's being trained at American Kickbox Academy by Derek Ewan also. So she's getting trained by the best of the best. So
Okay.
it just the word gets out, and then she's tried dropping weight. She's tried our weight class. She's tried going up a weight class, and it's been a couple years since anything has come through.
Okay. Well, good luck. Good luck to you and her.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
So
Mhm.
Ty, is there a way that people can contact you if they're interested in getting trained by you, or wanting to come to your school? Just give us a little information on your school and where you're at, your address.
McGuire's Karate, Bakersfield, California, 3401 Pacheco Road, Suite G.
Sweet G.
Yeah.
Sweet
Telephone
G, I
number
love that.
427-6193.
Say that one more time.
Telephone number 661-427-6193. And
All
just like
right.
you said, the G is for God, right? And
Yeah.
in that way.
Yes, sir. I know we're a little bit over an hour, but I gotta touch on an amazing female boxer that you trained and
Right.
what you were able to do for her. So just give us a 30,000-foot view on her and what you were able to do for her and the fight that she was going to have, the legendary fight that she was going to have with Ali,
Wow.
and what happened with that.
Wow. Yeah, right. Jennifer Alcorn. She was one of my
Oh.
karate. You talking about Jennifer, right?
Yeah. Greg, you heard of her?
We met her. She worked with us back when we ran the Fresno show.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So that's Jennifer. Go ahead, Ty.
Jennifer Alcorn. I trained her up in Fresno, of course, and she trained with all of us and everything. Taught her a lot. She was one of my top female fighters up there. It was three of them. Her, Cynthia Prouder, and Carlos, his wife. They was all fighting together, so they was all pretty tough, and they all had that chance to go somewhere. But Cynthia, she's a world champion in karate, and Jennifer, when I moved down to LA, Jennifer called me one weekend. She said, "Hey, would you be interested in teaching me how to box?" I said, "No problem." I said, "I need you to do a couple of things for me though before I teach you." And I said, "You got 30 days to complete it, right?" So I said, "I need you to do this. Is what I need you to do every day: 600 push-ups, 600 sit-ups, 600 leg raises, 6 rounds of shadow boxing, um, 6 rounds of jump rope, and 6 rounds of 6 miles, 6 miles, and maybe a couple other little things I can't think of right off the top of my head." And I told her to come do that, and I come up there and teach her. So I went up there after 30 days, went up, seen her. She all yoked up, muscles everywhere, right? Strong. And muscles. I mean, she could have been a bodybuilder if she wanted to.
Yeah, she did for a while.
Did one show.
Yeah, she did for a while.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I went up there, seen her, and that's when we started the boxing training. Started teaching her. I taught her how to box, and I taught her how to dig in there, in close, inside. So she knew how to move around and dance and box, but she also knew how to brawl if she has to. And then she was physically strong, and she did what I asked her to do. So I know she was mentally strong. So she had all the attributes that she needed to become that champion. So we went on, and she started beating everybody, knocking people out, beating them with ease, with ease. Um, and I think she had already won a title, and she asked me to come back up to one of her fights in Lemoore. That's the fight you're talking about. With they wanted. She said, "Well, I need you. Can you come up here and watch my fight, and then we can see where we're gonna go from there?" I said, "Okay, I'll let you. I'll come up there and do that." And so I go up there. I'm walking into the arena. A guy, he's a NFL manager, Andre Farr. Andre Farr is sitting with Layla Ali's husband. Layla Ali's husband. And so I walk in there. He said, "Hey, Ty, what's going on, man?" Because I did some bodyguard work for him too. Okay. Well, we bodyguard Layla Ali before too. So I come in there. He said, "Hey, Ty, come up. What you doing, man? What you doing up here?" I said, "What's up, Farr? What you doing?" And he said, "Oh man, I'm just sitting out here watching the fights and everything." I said, "Yeah, that's good." And they say, "This is Layla Ali's husband, whatever his name is. I don't remember his name." So he said, "This is Layla Ali's husband." Woo woo woo. And I said, "Okay, how you doing? Nice to meet you." So um, he said, "What you doing over here?" I said, "Got one of my fighters up here. She fighting right now. She called me to come watch her fight." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Well, who's your fighter?" He said, "Jennifer Alcorn." He said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Really?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Man, we up here watching Jennifer also." I said, "Really?" And he said, "We want to set up a fight with Jennifer and Layla." Like, you know, I said, "Okay, cool. We can do that." He said, "Oh," he said, "This is Andre." He said, "Oh, you let Jennifer fight Layla." I said, "Of course we will." Just like that. I said, "Of course we will." He said, "Oh, okay. Well, we can set that up." I said, "We can set it up whenever you want to set it up. Ain't no problem." And so I said, "Hold on." Because she was up there brawling, route, boom, boom, just brawling. So I said, "Hold on. Let me go up here, get to her fight, and I'll come back and we talk." He said, "Okay, we're gonna set that fight up when we come back." All right, I said, "All right," gave each other a dap or whatever. I walk over to the fight, and she's sitting down on the chair. And I went and said some things that I wouldn't say on on your podcast, right? And Jennifer, you better whoop 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 and wah 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 and get back up and knock her out right now. And I'm saying some language,
Yeah.
right? I don't curse right now,
Yeah.
only if I. So I'm saying what I need to do, and her eyes got big, big, big. She's sitting on the chair. Okay, nodding her head because her eyes got real big. Okay, okay, okay. Ding, ding. You already know what happened. She got up. Pop, pop. That was it. That was the end of the fight. Andre Farnham was like, "All right, Ty. All right, T-Dog. We're going to holler at you. We're going to set that fight up." They was out of that arena within 2 seconds. They was out. They did not want, because they only seen parts of her. I guess they only seen her brawling. But they seen that I changed her in a total of 15 seconds. Changed her to where she hit that girl with 2 punches and that fight was over. That's how easy it was. And then when if you can do that in 15 seconds, what is he gonna do when he starts back training her for this fight? It's gonna be over when it went that long. And she had a big fight with some girl, supposed to be a great champion her last fight. And she called me again for this one. And then got her back into boxing and jabbing and moving around the ring and dancing. It was like the movie Rocky, when Apollo worked with Rocky, right? And changed him from that brawler to the guy that he was fighting, I think it was Mr. T or somebody, fighting and jabbing, throwing them jabs. And that's how it was with this girl. And she was lighting the girl up, hitting her with single jabs, double jabs, triple jabs, changing sides on her, southpaw, beating her both sides. And after the fight, news reporters say, "Hey, Jennifer, this was your last fight. This was the greatest fight we have ever seen. What did you do differently?" Jennifer, Jennifer. Yeah, we just changed a couple little things here and there. We just tweaked some stuff, you know. They say that was the greatest fight we ever seen. We never seen you look that good. And that's just how it is. We just went back to the things that we was doing in the beginning, and just we put on a show. It was a beautiful show. It was a beautiful show that she put on.
Well, you, like I've said, and I've said to everybody, you did the same thing to me mentally, and built my fortitude, my mindset, and I was able to apply that and bodybuilding. And I want to give you your flowers, as often as I can. So it wouldn't have happened without you, bro. Without you pushing me into bodybuilding, without you paying for my food when I couldn't have paid for it, the training, the support, and even now, you've always been like, a mentor to me, a father figure, and I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you and your time. I know you work nights and you don't get off till like 4 or 5 in the morning, so I
Yeah.
appreciate you getting up for this podcast and doing this, brother. I appreciate you. God bless. So there you have it, another episode with Flex for Life with our special guest, Ty McGuire, my co-host, Greg. We're signing out. Peace.
All right. Peace out.